Welcome back to Morning Glory. I'm Mike Graham. Theo Usherwood is here. We're going to be looking through all the big stories in the papers this morning. And talking of some of the appointments that Donald Trump has made, Theo, I just want to bring this one up to you. I found this on Twitter. Elon Musk, of course, is now going to be given the Department of Government Efficiency. And he's put out a tweet in which he says, the sheer magnitude of government waste is staggering to behold. We think we've got problems here. Apparently, a deep dive into federal spending reveals that £1.3 billion a year is sent to dollars, I should say, sent to dead people. And $171 million in benefits sent to prisoners. I mean, it's staggering numbers, absolutely amazing. Speaking of which, I suppose we should talk about the front page of the Times and the council tax story, because it looks as though Labour, once again, I think, has broken a promise, because I think they said they were going to freeze council tax, but it turned out it sort of slipped through the net, didn't it, during Prime Minister's questions, that they're now going to allow council tax bills to rise by 5%, which could be about 100 quid to people. Yes,
and what's interesting about this was already a cap that was previously introduced on council tax. But what's interesting about this is inflation busting. So when you have high inflation to allow council to increase council tax by 5%, you've got double-digit inflation. That kind of makes sense because they need to balance their books and their costs have gone up. But actually now we've got inflation down to, well, Bank of England target around 2%. Actually, do councils need to, you know, go straight through that with another 5%? You know, it's £217 on the largest band, most expensive band H houses, but you know, for people on average, you know, with an average home, it's around £109 next year. So it's not change. I mean, it's a chunk of money, and of course, yes, there are discounts available, but for many people on fixed incomes, you know, they are going to.
Well, it's just another bill that's going up, isn't it?
It's another bill that's going up.
Show me one that's going down. I don't think there is one.
Yeah, and of course, this will be to cover the fact that, you know, for all of the talk about, you know, spending and departmental spending, actually the local government, you know, the local Department for Local Government is actually getting only a couple of £1 billion more than it otherwise would. So this is, you know, again, going back to the taxpayer to pay for services.
And we've also got in the Times a story that's saying there's a business backlash now. Business leaders have warned Rachel Reeves that job losses and higher prices in shops are inevitable, as they've accused her of failing to deliver on her pledge to grow the economy. And this is what everybody said on the day the budget came out: you can't grow an economy if you put taxes up.
And what's interesting about this is, you know, the argument was, you know, that they wanted to grow, get economic growth, then you get more people working and more money going into the Treasury. But actually, by putting up this employers' national insurance, which is going to raise £25 billion, what's going to happen is that those costs are going to have to be passed on in the form of higher prices. And we've seen, OK, the Bank of England covered them, you know, a week ago when they decided to actually cut interest rates to 4.7%, 4.75%. But actually, if you look at what's happening in the mortgage market right now, mortgages started to creep back up again. Mortgage lenders are pushing up their rates, you know, sometimes by, you know, 0.3%. It's going to be more difficult to get, you know, a decent mortgage. They're going to get more expensive because what they're anticipating is inflation. The costs of businesses are going to go up. Therefore, the prices are going to go up because the cost of
and we've seen
people.
In the Sun as well, they're saying that the price of a pint will go up by 10 pence, which completely wipes out what they said they were going to do, which was take a penny off a pint. Well, that means you're still going up by 9p. Let's talk about that story we mentioned on the front page of the Sun. Here's where it all started. David Coote is the name of the referee. The original video was of him sort of talking kind of bizarrely to two other guys. We don't know why. I don't know why it was being filmed, but here it is.
What did you think of the Liverpool game earlier when you were fourth official?
Liverpool.
What do you think of Jurgen Klopp?
Absolutely.
What would you say? Why would you say that Jurgen Klopp was?
Aside from having a right pop at me when I ref them against Burnley in lockdown, then he accused me of lying, and then just had a right pop at me, and I've got no interest in speaking to someone who's arrogant.
Long story short, Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool are all and we hate Scousers.
So, he was already suspended as a result of that, because he was apparently, at the time when that was recorded, in a UEFA-funded hotel room, it would appear, and that would appear to be where he's also being photographed and videoed now, with what looks like a white powder cut into a sort of a line. People are making lots of jokes about Linesman. It appears to be snorting it through a dollar bill. The headline in the Sun: "You don't knows what you're doing." It's an incredible story, isn't it?
It's an incredible story, and you know, the Premier League is a fantastic thing. Most other countries do not have a Premier League.
Yes.
You can only think really Spain has a league of comparable, stature.
Yes.
Everything, the French league isn't as good as German league isn't as good. The Italians were quite, it was quite a good league, but it relies on fair officials.
But it's the richest league as well.
It's the richest league. We've got the best players. We pay them the most money.
Yeah.
But in return for that, we expect, the games to be properly managed, properly officiated.
High levels of professionalism.
High levels of professionalism. But not if your name
Apparently
is
this
David
video
Coote.
was filmed on July the 6th, a day after the Euro 2024 quarter-final between Portugal and France, where Coote was a support VAR official. So he's actually working at the Euros, and he would appear to be in a hotel room paid for by UEFA, doing all sorts of things which would be possibly described as nefarious, to say the least.
Yeah, it's not on, and obviously he's got a right of reply, and the spokesman for the Premier League match officials, we're aware of the allegations and taking them very seriously, and he remains suspended. David's welfare continues to be of the utmost importance to us, so we're committed to providing him the necessary ongoing support that he needs through this period. And I just think the welfare, I get the welfare piece, right? We understand.
I mean, they all have to say that, I suppose,
and they have to say that, but let's get to the nitty-gritty of, if the Premier League needs to uphold its reputation, then I don't see how these two stories, firstly the story that obviously you played the clip with, those comments about the former Liverpool manager, and now these on this story. I mean, what a, chapeau,
I don't know the answer to this question.
Hats off.
I don't know the answer to this question, but I presume they drug test the players randomly.
Yeah.
Presumably they should be drug testing the referees now.
Yeah, and that's a very, very good point. Everything, the referees need to be held to the highest standard, and they're integral to upholding.
Of course.
They're integral to upholding the standards in the Premier League. If your referees aren't any good, then that is.
And if they're involved in officiating games where the people that are managing the teams are people that they've abused on social media, you kind of go, well, sorry, we can't be doing that.
How's that going to be a fair game? How can you not question? If you're a Liverpool fan watching that now, are you going to then be questioning, if you're thinking, well, there's this guy, what about the other officials?
Right.
And then it makes it much harder for the other officials because every time they make a decision, is that decision going to be questioned because of their own personal views?
Exactly.
The Premier League needs to get on top of this really quickly and deal with it really quickly.
Yeah.
And I get, his welfare is important, but they need to sort this quick.
They really do. Let's talk about fireworks, because I've been banging on about fireworks since before Guy Fawkes Night last week.
You need a campaign, Mike.
Well, I mean, I've been trying to get people to understand that why not have silent fireworks. I got a lot of flack from people going, what's the matter with you? Killjoy, people enjoy fireworks only once a year. Well, of course, the argument I make is that it's not just once a year. It starts at the beginning of October. It runs all the way through October and November. It goes all the way up to Christmas and New Year. And then it runs into the New Year, probably the first week of January. So it's more like a 4-month sort of, assault on your ears. Because, I mean, even last night I was hearing fireworks as I got out of the car, finishing work here at 6 o'clock, got out of the car, bang. I mean, there's fireworks going off all the time. And it seems a very sad event has happened. A baby red panda at Edinburgh Zoo named Roxy is believed to have died because of stress from fireworks being let off in the city.
It's an incredibly sad story, and these animals are rare.
Yeah, very rare.
To be able to have get two mates together and get a red panda at Edinburgh Zoo. That's that's a coup.
Yes,
for
it's a great.
Edinburgh.
I mean, for those people who don't like zoos, they'll probably not understand what I mean by this, but it's a great zoo. It's a very good zoo, Edinburgh. They do an awful lot of. They've had pandas from China before, tried to make them, didn't really work. But I mean, they've got a lot of good standards there. It's not a bad zoo.
No, absolutely. And actually, I was talking to Fergal Sharkey, the environmental. Nobody is more on the environment than Fergal Sharkey.
Right.
He's
Mr. Water.
He's Mr. Water. But, he was. I was questioning him about there were some penguins in a basement over at the aquarium in London. He was getting very upset about that. But I asked him about London Zoo. Actually, so we wouldn't have a bad word to say about London Zoo.
Yeah.
London Zoo.
It's
These zoos are. I think the same is for Edinburgh. These zoos are very well run.
Yeah.
And they also. The people of Edinburgh need to think carefully about this, because when you get like a baby red panda, then actually you could draw in huge amounts of tourism. People come from all over the world to see these animals. They're incredibly rare, and actually you can raise a huge amount of people coming in, spending. You could sell them a baseball cap with a red panda on it, or a toy or whatever. And actually they've through these fireworks they've done stuff. These fireworks they're around 120 decibels. Some of them. That's like sitting at the bottom of a runway in Diego Garcia as the bombers come over the top. I mean, they're incredibly
what I didn't know
loud.
was in August, apparently, Edinburgh became the first Scottish council to vote for a ban on the use of fireworks in certain parts of the city, particularly around bonfire night. And it says that this poor baby red panda, basically, she had recently lost her mum, but was responding well to specialist care from our expert team and was feeding independently. But on bonfire night itself, she had a bad reaction to the fireworks and died. I mean, that's extraordinary.
It's so
so sad.
Tragic story.
So for all you people that poo-poo my idea of having silent fireworks, because I mean they're pretty impressive silent fireworks. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but you know they can have drone fireworks. You know they look just as good. They just don't have this incredible noise going with them.
And you can enjoy them. You just turn up, you just look at the fireworks.
Yeah,
but most people look at the fireworks anyway.
Yeah. I mean, as long as if you're at a big display, you don't hear the noise. But I mean, if you're just, even people just throwing bangers around the general sort of community is a bad thing. So we'll come back to that. Also today, we must tell you that it's John Lewis Advert Day. The Christmas ads are all out, so we're going to be able to give you a sneak peek of it. And I'm told this year they haven't got any men in it. But I don't know why. So we'll find out what that's all about, and we'll see whether we like it or not.